retirement paperwork is manual on paper. It's manually calculated, then written down on a piece of paper. Then it goes down a mine. And I'm like, what do you mean a mine? Like, yeah, there's a limestone mine where we store all the retirement paperwork.
What's going on YouTube? It's your host, Bruce G&T, back with another video. And this time we're going to be going over, essentially, Elon Musk had visited the president in the Oval Office and they were taking questions from reporters and everything like that. And he gives a little bit of a snippet of what they've been finding over at DOGE. And they talk about, okay, hey, look, this is what we've been seeing. This is our findings. And we're held to a certain standard, but we're not above reproach, essentially. That's how I took it. So we're just going to go over that. We're going to discuss it and see what we can pull from it.
And then we're also going to address the deficit. So we've got a $2 trillion deficit. And if we don't do something about this deficit, the country's going bankrupt. I mean, it's really astounding that the interest payments alone on the national debt exceed the Defense Department budget, which is shocking because we spend a lot of money on defense. But and if that just keeps going, we're essentially going to bankrupt the country. So what I really want to say is, like, it's not optional for us to reduce the federal expenses. It's essential. It's essential for America to remain solvent as a country, and it's essential for America to have the resources necessary to provide things to its citizens and not simply be servicing vast amounts of debt.
And also, could you mention some of the things that your team has found, some of the crazy numbers, including the woman that walked away with about 30 million?
Right.
Etc.
Well, we do find it sort of rather odd that there are quite a few people in the bureaucracy who have ostensibly a salary of a few $100,000, but somehow manage to accrue tens of millions of dollars in net worth while they are in that position, which is, what happened to USAID. We're just curious as to where.
Stuff I've been talking about just like offline. I haven't really said it much on here. I don't like career politicians. I think the concept is stupid. The fact that it's a thing, it shouldn't be a thing. I think we should have certain term limits on positions in government. It doesn't make sense that we have people that have gone their entire life working within government. And what he's saying is exactly true. There are certain politicians, Congress people, right? Congressmen and women, that their salary it's just six figures. But then when you look at their net worth and look at what they're pulling just in general, like how much money they're making, it's millions of dollars. How is that working? Explain that to me. People, I'm not going to name any names. Actually, I am. Nancy Pelosi. I've always heard if you want to get rich, like, pay attention to how she moves in the market, because apparently she's just like up there. And no one's looking at that. No one's going like, hold up a second. They have all these officials that are working in these jobs that only pay six figures, but yet and still they're millionaires. No one's looking at that kind of going, oh, that's kind of weird. Just look it up. Look it up. I'm telling you. Why do you think some of these Congress people, they work so hard to keep their position? Tell them that they're going to take away their position from them. See how they react. See how they react. They fight so hard for these positions. I could be off. I may not know what the hell I'm talking about. So let me know if I'm wrong. But I know I'm not. Because if you look at it, the numbers don't lie. We may get the numbers incorrect, but the numbers themselves don't lie.
Where it came from. Maybe they're very good at investing, in which case we should take their investment advice, perhaps. But just there seems to be mysteriously they get wealthy. We don't know why. Where does it come from? And I think the reality is that they're getting wealthy at the taxpayer expense. That's the honest truth of it. So we're looking at if you look at say Treasury, for example, basic controls that should be in place, that are in place in any company, such as making sure that any given payment has a payment categorization code, that there is a comment field that describes the payment, and that if a payment is on the do not pay list, that you don't actually pay it. None of those things are true currently. So the reason that departments can't pass audits is because the payments don't have a categorization code. It's like just a massive number of blank checks just flying out the building. So you can't reconcile blank checks. You've got comment fields that are also blank, so you don't know why the payment was made. And then we've got this truly absurd, a do not pay list, which can take up to a year for an organization to get on a do not pay list. and this, we're talking about terrorist organizations, we're talking about known fraudsters, known aspects of waste, known things that do not match any congressional appropriation, can take up to a year to get on the list, and even once on the list is not used. It's mind-blowing. So what we're talking about here, we're really just talking about adding common sense controls that should be present, that haven't been present. So you say, like, well, how could such a thing arise? That seems crazy. When you understand that really everything is geared towards complaint minimization, so then you understand the motivations. So if people receive money, they don't complain, obviously. But if people don't receive money, they do complain. And the fraudsters complain the loudest and the fastest. So then when you understand that, then it makes sense. Oh, that's why everything they approve all the payments at Treasury. Because if you approve all the payments, you don't get complaints. But now we're saying that, no, actually, we are going to complain. If money is spent badly, if your taxpayer dollars are not spent in a sensible and frugal manner, then that's not okay. Your tax dollars need to be spent wisely on things that matter to the people.
So essentially what he's saying, the way I interpret it, is that they're just approving anything that comes to their desk and say, hey, look, we're just going to approve this because the last thing we need is people making waves, and people coming up and popping up saying, hey, look, we didn't get paid. You don't want that in your ear. And a little bit about this before I even go any further. I don't like Elon Musk. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't actually like him at all. I have my own personal feelings about him. I might do a video about that. Maybe. I don't. But my thing is this. I pick sense from nonsense. If what he's doing is actually going to help the American people, I see no reason for me to be like, oh, I don't like him. He's terrible. But if he's not helping us and pointing out the fraud and the misappropriation of funds, why would I not like that? My personal feelings be damned. If he's going to show, hey, look, they're spending billions of dollars over here inappropriately in ways that we don't want, the American taxpayer does not care for, then yeah, I would like for that to be shown. This amount of transparency is what I respect, because even though I may not like him, what he's doing, can I not get behind that? What person would not want to know where their money is being spent? If everything he's saying is true, how can I not get behind it? If he's just somehow making all this up, every single last bit, which, look, and I'll talk about it a little bit after. My military experience was one where I worked as a maintainer, and we spent money of the government. And one thing I can say is that even though I wasn't high up, I spent a lot of money. And I'll get into that after this. But a lot of what he's saying and what I think he's going to say, I can pretty much vouch for. And that was just a branch in the military, and I wasn't even that high ranked. And I'm telling you for a fact, yeah, I could believe it. But let's keep going.
I mean, these things, like, it's just common sense. It's not draconian or radical, I think. It's really just saying, let's look at each of these expenditures and say, is this actually in the best interest of the people? And if it is, it's approved. If it's not, we should think about it. So, there's crazy things like just cursory examination of Social Security, and we've got people in there that are 150 years old. Now, do you know anyone who's 150? I don't. Okay. They should be on the Guinness Book of World Records. They're missing out. So, that's a case where, like, I think they're probably dead. It's my guess. Or they should be very famous, one of the two. And then there's a whole bunch of Social Security payments where there's no identifying information. Well, like, why is there no identifying information? Obviously, we want to make sure that people who deserve to receive Social Security do receive it, and that they receive it quickly and accurately. Also, another crazy thing. So, one of the things is, like, we are trying to sort of right-size the federal bureaucracy, just make sure that this, obviously, there need to be a lot of people working for the federal government, but not as many as currently. So we're saying, well, okay, let's, if people can retire, with full benefits and everything, that would be good. They can retire, get their retirement payments and everything. And then we were told, this is actually, I think, a great anecdote, because we were told the most number of people that could retire possibly in a month is 10,000. We're like, well, why is that? Well, because all the retirement paperwork is manual on paper. It's manually calculated, then written down on a piece of paper. Then it goes down a mine. And I'm like, what do you mean a mine? Like, yeah, there's a limestone mine where we stole all the retirement paperwork. And you look at a picture of this,
Not a goddamn mine.
This, my friend, is the home of my cousin Balin, and they call it a mine. A mine!
Oh my gosh. Like I said, I'm just taking what he's saying at face value. If it comes out as not true, then fine, we'll move accordingly. But if what he's saying is true, a mine?
Into the mines!
A limestone mine? What is this?
picture of this mine. We'll post some pictures afterwards. And this mine looks like something out of the 50s because it was started in 1955. So it looks like it's like a time warp. And then the speed, the limiting factor is the speed at which the mine shaft elevator can move determines how many people can retire from the federal government. And the elevator breaks down and then sometimes, and then nobody can retire. Doesn't that sound crazy? There's like 1,000 people that work on this. So I think if we take those people and say, like, you know what, instead of working in a mine shaft and carrying manila envelopes to, boxes in a mine shaft, you could do practically anything else. And you would add to the goods and services of the United States in a more useful way. So anyway, so I think, that's an example. Like at a high level, if you say, like, how do we increase prosperity, is we get people to shift from roles that are low to negative productivity to high productivity roles. And so you increase the total output of goods and services, which means that there's a higher standard of living available for everyone. That's the actual goal. Everyone's very quiet, by the way. So are people normally this quiet?
Your detractors, Mr. Musk,
I have to what?
including a lot of Democrats,
I have detractors?
you do, sir,
I don't believe it.
say that you're orchestrating a hostile takeover of government and doing it in a non-transparent way. What's your response to that criticism?
Well, first of all, you couldn't ask for a stronger mandate from the public. The public voted. We have a majority of the public voting for President Trump. We won the House. We won the Senate. The people voted for major government reform. There should be no doubt about that. That was on the campaign. The president spoke about that at every rally. The people voted for major government reform, and that's what people are going to get. They're going to get what they voted for. And a lot of times, people that don't get what they voted for, but in this presidency, they are going to get what they voted for. And that's what democracy is all about.
Mr. Musk, the White House says that you will identify and excuse yourself from any conflicts of interest that you may have. Does that mean that you are, in effect, policing yourself? What are the checks and balances that are in place to ensure that there is accountability and transparency?
Well, we actually are trying to be as transparent as possible. In fact, we post our actions to the DOGE handle on X and to the DOGE website. So all of our actions are maximally transparent. In fact, I don't think there's been, I don't know of a case where an organization has been more transparent than the DOGE organization. So, and the kind of things we're doing are, I think, very, very simple and basic. They're not, what I mentioned, for example, about Treasury, just making sure that payments that go out, taxpayer money that goes out, is categorized correctly, that the payment is explained, that organizations on the do not pay list, which takes a lot to get there, that actually are not paid, which currently they are paid. These are not individual judgment decisions. These are about simply having sensible checks and balances in the system itself to ensure that taxpayer money is spent well. So it's got nothing to do with, like, say, a contract with some company of mine at all.
But if there is a conflict of interest when it comes to you yourself, for instance, you've received billions of dollars in federal contracts when it comes to the Pentagon, for instance, which the president, I know, has directed you to look into.
Yeah.
Are you policing yourself in that? Is there any sort of accountability check and balance in place that would provide any transparency for the American people?
Well, all of our actions are fully public. So if you see anything, you say, like, wait a second, hey, Elon, that seems like maybe that's, there's a conflict there. It's not like people are going to be shy about saying that. They'll say it immediately,
Yeah, he's not wrong. But, like I said, not a big fan of him. But if he's gonna be as transparent as he's claiming they are, because I have looked at the DOGE account. I don't have an Twitter account or anything like that. I'm not big on social media, like I said before, but I have seen some of the posts and everything. So I have been keeping track to see what they've been discovering. And like I said, if you take it at face value, yeah, we're effed in the B, because there's a lot of money that's being spent towards nonsense, honestly, if you look at it. But that's actually something I've wondered too. Since he's, he gets government contracts, how is that going to work? And how is someone going to call him out? They're going to call him out on his platform? How is that going to work? But when the time comes, we'll see how that works out. We'll see exactly how transparent and how forthright and forthcoming he's going to be. It's going to be interesting to see how that gets handled. My thing is that confuses me is that it seems like people, especially the Democrats, have a big issue with him just auditing the government in general. And their main gripe is that he's looking into it and telling them, hey, look, this isn't right. And they're hiding it behind, well, he doesn't have an official government position. What gives him the right to do that? And I completely agree. I understand that. But at the end of the day, first of all, we're sitting here talking about he doesn't have an official government position. Wouldn't that be the point? I'm not for bureaucracy, because technically that would make him part of the bureaucracy, someone that's outside the branches of government that has power to say and delegate certain things, in a sense. But my thing is this: wouldn't it be better to have someone that can't be bribed because he's a billionaire? He has a political allegiance, sure, but at the end of the day, he's going to point out things and say, hey, look, this isn't right because it's right there in the numbers. Now, he can report the numbers incorrectly, yes, but if it's shown, right? If it's shown in black and white, you can't really report that incorrectly. You know what I'm saying? And like I said, I could be off. Let me know in the comments below. But it seems like it's something that's going to work out smoothly. And if it doesn't, the people, trust me, the people have no issue calling out people that they don't like when they're doing stuff that they don't like. They don't. They're saying a whole lot of things about these two men on screen right now. So if they have an issue and they see an issue, they will most definitely say something.
Including you yourself.
Yes. But transparency is what builds trust, not simply somebody asserting trust. So not somebody saying they're trustworthy, but transparency, so you can see everything that's going on. And then you can see, am I doing something that benefits one of my companies or not? It's totally obvious.
And if we thought that, we would not let him do that segment or look in that area if we thought there was a lack of transparency or a conflict of interest. And we watch that also. He's a big businessman. He's a successful guy. That's why we want him doing this. We don't want an unsuccessful guy doing this. Now, one thing also that Elon hasn't really mentioned are the groups of people that are getting some of these payments. They're ridiculous. And we're talking about billions of dollars that we've already found. We found fraud and abuse. I would say those two words as opposed to the third word that I usually use, but in this case, fraud and abuse. It's abusive because most of these things are virtually made up, or certainly money shouldn't be sent to them. And you know what I'm talking about. It's crazy. So, but we're talking about tens of billions of dollars that we've already found. And now a judge who's an activist judge wants to try and stop us from doing this. Why? Why would they want to do that? I campaigned on this. I campaigned on the fact that I said government is corrupt. And it is very corrupt. It's very, very, it's also foolish. As an example, a man has a contract for 3 months and the contract ends, but they keep paying him for the next 20 years, because nobody ends a contract. You got a lot of that. You have a contract that's a 3-month contract. Now, normally, if you're in a small, in all fairness, it's the size of this thing is so big.
Yeah.
But if you have a contract and you're in a regular business, you end the contract in 3 months. It's a consultant. Here's a contract for 3 months, but it goes on for 20 years. And the guy doesn't say that he got money for 20 years. They don't say it. They just keep getting checks month after month, and you have various things like that, and even much worse than that, actually, much worse. And I guess you call that incompetence, maybe.
Yeah.
It could be corruption. It could be a deals made on both sides, where the guy gets the money, he kicks. I think there's a lot of kickback here. I see a lot of kickback here.
There's a lot of kickbacks.
A tremendous kickback, because nobody could be so stupid to give out some of these contracts, so he has to get a kickback. So that's what I got elected for, that and borders and military and a lot of things, but this is a big part of it. And I hope that the court system is going to allow us to do what we have to do. We got elected to among other things, find all of this fraud, abuse, all of this horrible stuff going on. And we've already found billions of dollars, not like a little bit, billions, many billions of dollars. And when you get down to it, it's going to be probably close to $1 trillion. It could be close to $1 trillion that we're going to find. That will have quite an impact on the budget. And you'll go to a judge where they handpick a judge, and he has certain leanings. I'm not knocking anybody for that, but he has certain leanings, and he wants us to stop looking. How do you stop looking? I mean, we've already found it. We have a case in New York where a hotel has paid $59 million, $59 million because it's housing migrants, illegal migrants, all illegal, I believe.
And they were being paid twice the normal room rate at 100% occupancy.
Unbelievable.
So it's a racket.
Yeah.
Yeah, you see, what he's saying, I'm not gonna call out no companies when I was working, when I was in the service, because I ain't doing that. But he's not wrong. You would hear whispers of things like that. There was a company that we got a certain gear from. I'm not gonna say exactly what it was. And we would send off our gear to this company to get fixed. And apparently for the past, when I was in at the time, the past 3 or 4 years, when we would send off our gear, we would get like a replacement, because we needed a certain amount of capacity for this gear that we had, this maintenance item. And come to find out, apparently all this time, the gear that they were fixing, right, they were just throwing it into like a back room, claiming to fix it, and we were paying them because we had a contract with them to fix said item. So for 3 or 4 years, we were paying them all this money to fix these things, and they weren't fixing them. So we were just throwing money away to this company. Like I said, I'm not gonna say what it is. If you know, you know. If you don't, oh well. And look, I got out as a corporal, but I got out like a month early. So during that month, I got promoted to sergeant. As a maintainer, I spent a lot of money. Yeah, I was a Marine. I spent a lot of money. There's a program called GCSS. That's all I'm gonna say about it. If you know, you know. And I wasn't high enough to spend that much money in the first place. I spent thousands of dollars. One time by mistake, because our leadership made a mistake and said, "Hey, look, we need to get this. We need to be at at mission readiness." Come to find out, someone made a mistake with the numbers. Wasted thousands of dollars. So if that happens at a lower rung unit within the Corps, can only imagine what goes on in government. And I wanted to talk about the last thing that he said, because he was talking about the judge, and I've seen a lot of people blow this out of proportion, they're trying to make it seem like, oh, he's going to go after judges. No, and correct me if I'm wrong, 'cause I'm going to break this down in a second. What he's essentially saying is that you have judges that align themselves politically one way or another, which is fine, but they're trying to stop them from auditing the government and certain government entities, right? And they're saying, hey, look, you can't do that. Stop looking. And their response is, what do you mean stop looking? We already found it. You want us to close our eyes to what's going on? Because if there's smoke, there's most likely fire. I feel the heat. I see the lights. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you can't tell me there's not fire over there. I just found the smoke. So the thing is, people are blowing this out of proportion, trying to say he's trying to go around the judiciary branch and everything like that. And it's like, no, he's just trying to have an understanding of, why are these judges trying to stop them from looking for something that they can clearly see as an issue, misappropriation of funds and everything like that? What does that tell you? One of the main things that people wanted him to do was weed out all the wasteful spending and the misuse of tax dollars. And you have judges that are saying, and look, I'm not trying to say that he's all right in every single thing that he's passed. I'm just saying in this regard, when it comes to DOGE and them trying to stop them, be like, hey, look, you can't do that. I understand that the implications of it, because he's a non-classified member or non-member of the government, because his classification when it comes to government contracts is totally different from classification to look within certain entities. That's a whole different conversation. But what I'm trying to get at is that I understand the premise of it or why they're upset. But my thing is, it sounds more so they don't want anything to be found when it comes to how these funds are being used, and they just want to keep people in the dark. And then the more ignorant of us are like, yeah, that's wrong. It's like, wait a minute. He just said that millions upon possibly billions of dollars are being used incorrectly. There are people that are supposedly 150 years old that are getting Social Security checks, and y'all are not angry about that. Y'all not talking about that. Y'all talking about the fact that he doesn't have a clearance. Okay, fine and dandy, sure. But what he's finding is stuff that is like, is that not, do y'all not care where y'all spend your money? I'm not saying that these guys are the paragon of goodness and kindness. I don't give a shit about that. I give a shit about where the money's going. Because we all pay too much in taxes to be saying, oh, well, it's not that much money in comparison to how much. I don't give a damn. That's not what I care about. I care about the fact that it's being used stupidly. That's what I care about. Look, that's it that I got for this video. If you enjoyed it, leave a like. Comment down below. Tell me what you think. Tell me if I'm off. I know I'm not off with this, but look, if you have a counter argument, I'm more than willing to hear it. Honestly, I really am, because there's no way you could oppose this besides the fact of what I stated before, how he doesn't have government clearance. He's not a part of any government agency or any branch of government. So it could be kind of, you know, I understand that part, but I'm talking about the mission itself. If you can argue that, cool, I have no issue. I would love to debate you on that to really get to the brass tacks of it and see, you know, if my opinion could be changed, or maybe yours could be changed. But yeah, like I said, if you enjoyed this video, leave a like, comment down below, and subscribe. There will be more. I'll be keeping up with this. Peace.